Hey, this is Tuesday, February 4th, advanced class. We're going to try and finish out the rest of the little things that are on there because we have several kids who are not with us today. Hope we make things better. Tomorrow we have Secret Word. We're going to finish that. Thursday, checkpoint for book report. Friday, we get to nonfiction. Today, with notebooky thing, you're going to get to learn more about Greek mythology. Yeah. I believe we got all the way down to Pandora with you guys. So we're going to do speedy version, and then we get to slow down and do learny version. So let's try to help you from there and make sure we have things in the correct spots. Let's go with chaos. Where do we have chaos? Because what was chaos?
Everything. He was like the beginning dude.
Works for me. Beginning dude, swirling ball of pudding. Who does chaos create?
Everyone.
The first two main gods that exist, which we'll get to in a moment in the story. All right, just making sure on that one. And then Kronos is our next one. Where do we put Cronus? And then, do I have a picture of Cronus?
You do.
I do somewhere. That would be Cronus up there, the one who's golfing in the little mini skirt, looking absolutely adorable. So that would be Kronos up yonder. We'll get to his fun story next week. Hopefully we'll get to his fun story next week. And then, who doesn't? That's not much. And then we get to Hades. Where does Hades go? And? Do I have a picture of Hades?
Yes.
Was Hades evil?
No.
What was he? There you go. So socially awkward. And just not good at talking to people or gods or anything that was living. And he was also not creative. What does he name the place where he lives?
Hades.
Nicely done. Which brings us to our... It was smart and lazy. And what do humans call the place where he lives?
Underworld.
Because what were they afraid of having happen?
Satan coming to him.
Having it. And as a kid said earlier, he's so evil. He takes him down. I'm like, he wasn't evil for taking you down there. He was lonely, and you called him to you. It's no more evil than when you invite a friend over to spend the night. I mean, you might be evil. That might be a different reason, but it's the same thing. He was just inviting you for a sleepover. It was just a sleepover that you never got to leave.
Or choose to come.
But you made the choice by saying the name. If you said his name and didn't want to go, you had to quickly stab somebody, and then that person would go instead, because then he'd have a body to take back.
Oh, really?
See? Planning ahead. Titans! And where do Titans go? What are Titans? Yeah, same thing. Do I have pictures or posters of Titans?
Yes.
Soon Titans. They are. All of those are the Titans. They're the big ones that are up there. There are some other gods that we're going to talk about today that are not Titans. So there can be other ones that are not Titans. It's that every Titan is a god, but not all gods were Titans.
Yeah.
I believe you.
As you should. Vulcanize.
Other stuff.
Vulcanize does not come from Greek mythology. It comes from
Roman.
nicely done. Roman mythology. Specifically, what Roman god?
Hephaestus.
The one that's right over there, Hephaestus.
Because of fire.
Yeah, and what did vulcanize mean?
To like melt down.
There you go. To melt down, to make stronger. Not a thing you can do with humans unless you really commit to it. The guy, he didn't melt down. He just caught on fire. Sort of like, he's more like the human arsonist, but that's all right. And then I think that was, oh yeah, we got to Pandora. And then Pandora, the last one we got to, goes into, and what did Pandora's name mean in Greek?
Many gifts.
Or girl who plays with small. And so, again, we have the fact that many gifts, which is why you have the radio, because you have all these gifts that come from one radio station. And so that's the idea of Pandora from there. Now we get to new stuff. Narcissus. So figure out where you put Narcissus. Let's go with God.
Yes,
He is a
Place. Things. Other stuff. Narcissus was a god.
Wait, I got
Now,
wrong.
depending on the story, some stories say he was a titan. Some stories say that he was a nymph. And a nymph is still a type of god. They're like an elf in the Greek world. They lived out in the woods and stuff like that. And so either way, he's also the one that falls in love with himself. Is where you get the word being narcissist. In Greek mythology, it wasn't his fault that he fell in love. He was actually cursed by a god because he made the poor choice of getting involved in god drama. And just like you don't want to get involved in 7th grade drama because bad things happen, it's even worse with god drama because they tended to kill you. And so he got himself involved in god drama and then suffered for it. Sticks! So look where you put sticks.
Ooh, I know that
We'll
one.
go with God,
No.
place,
Yeah.
thing,
Yep.
other stuff.
Gross.
You have multiple choices. Styx started off as a god and then becomes a river. So I consider a river a place, but if you consider a river a thing or other stuff, that would make sense. It all sort of depends on how you define a river. Quick story with Styx to give you a little bit of background on her. So we're going to get to a story coming up, which is the big battle between Zeus and his father Kronos, and they have this big war that goes on for a while. Excuse me. Styx was a titan that helps Zeus fight this big war. And she was an incredibly effective fighter. Ferocious, fierce, super mean, to the point that Kronos kept trying to recruit her to his side. But she never left Zeus' side, stayed loyal to him throughout the entire war. Eventually Zeus wins. At the end of it, Zeus goes and talks to her and goes, Styx, I appreciate everything you did for me. Not sure I would have won without you. Your fighting styles were impressive. Because of that, I would like to give you a gift. She's like, ooh, I love gifts. What is it? He goes, a wish. You may wish for anything you want. And if it's within my power, I will give it to you. What would you like? And she goes, ooh, anything? I would like to become a river. And he goes, no, really, like gold or like a hat. She's like, no, a river. He's like, splash, splash? She's like, yeah, splash, splash, splash. He's like, okay. And she turns into a river. Right there in the woods, river goes out. And so he thinks things are done. She becomes a river. He walks away. Rumors start coming back to him that there's something wrong with this river. So he goes back down to these woods some years later and finds this river through the woods where he left it, but along the river on both sides of it are dead animals everywhere, just lining either side of it. Turns out that Styx was not a nice person. She had a horrible personality, was nasty, would attack people all the time. And so because of her horrible, nasty, mean personality, when she became a river, she became a poisonous river, so that anything that touched it would die. And Zeus realized we can't leave poisonous river in the middle of this forest because it keeps killing all these creatures and people are going to complain. So he decides to move the river. So he picks up the river, as you do, and then he decides to put it in the only place where it cannot hurt anybody. And where's the only place he can put it? In the underworld. So he takes the river Styx, takes it down to the underworld where it cannot do any harm to anybody, and puts it down there. In the picture of Hades, that's supposed to be, this is right next to him, that is the river Styx. And so he sets it up so the river Styx in the underworld separates the living world from the dead world. And that way humans, or titans, or anybody, cannot get from one side to the other. Hades is all for it because it prevents people from talking to him. It's like having the ultimate front door that no one can cross. And so he puts Styx down there, and she becomes both a god and a river. And, Tig?
Okay, so when I was like a little tiny child, I watched Hercules, but I didn't understand any of it.
Yeah.
Is that why when he jumps in to save the girl because he's so cool and mighty,
He dies as he swims.
he swims
Although
and
most of
turns
what
into-
happens in that movie is not actual Greek mythology.
Is that the Styx River? Because it looked
It's-
like a big lake.
Yeah, it's
Or a
once
puddle.
again, most of what happens in that movie doesn't actually connect to
Or a
Greek
crater
mythology,
of
as we'll
water.
find out. But yeah, the Hercules cartoon was like a kid who watched like every other day of a class and then told those stories to like his 4-year-old brother, and then had his brother write a movie. That became Hercules. We're like, there's little bits of like the names are the same and some of the ideas are there, but most of that movie is way wrong. But it was entertaining.
Okay.
That was all.
Yeah.
Scythe!
Oh, that's
God,
yeah.
place, thing, other stuff.
I don't know.
Scythe is an object. It's a thing. Back here in our picture of Kronos, it is the thing that it looks like he's going golfing with. That is the scythe up there.
Oh, I was right.
Essentially, it's a farming tool. So it was a big stick that has a blade that comes off of it. And before we, like the book we're reading, before you could go through and like have a combine or a tractor that would go and cut down all of your crops, whenever you would grow things, in order to cut them down, you'd have to go out there with this big blade, and you would literally just go choppy choppy, and you chop down the crops, and that was how you would harvest things. Then they found out, instead of going choppy choppy crops, you could go choppy choppy person, and it also worked against people. There's the difference. Oh, there's also a thing called a sickle. which is like a scythe, but different.
But smaller.
A sickle is going to be a scythe, but it has a handle on it. And the idea of the handle is that it allows you to swing it better. So that way when you're chasing a person down the street, instead of throwing out your shoulder, you can use the handle, and it gives you a better rotation, and allows you to sort of hack more people crops down as you're going through it. And so the Grim Reaper has a sickle. So oftentimes you'll see him with one that has a handle on it. Or sometimes a scythe, depending on how the artist goes. In our story, we use it to attack our parents. But that's the story coming up next week. Harpy parents, like the big people in your house, they use it to... Harpy! Take a look where you're going to put a harpy.
Those are...
Gods, places, things, other stuff. Harpy is going to be in our creature category, which I put in other stuff. It's going to be we have a whole bunch of half man, half animal things. Some of them you're already familiar with, like mermaids, come from Greek mythology. A mermaid was half girl, half
Fish.
that's scary, it took that long. Half fish. Mermaids were always supposed to be attractive female and then fish. Harpies were kind of the opposite. Harpies were ugly female and a bird. It was thought to have wings of a bird, the body of a bird, and then it thought it had the torso and head of a girl. And not an attractive girl, ugly, horrible, nasty girl. And they were always covered in filth with hair sticking in different directions, and they would oftentimes attack you with feet that were covered in pooey, and they'd scratch you and stuff like that. And they made horrible screeching sounds, yeah, whenever they would attack you. And so that's what harpies became known for. So we're going to get to a couple things in a moment that connect to that same category. By the way, harpy also is, you can use it to as an insult, because oftentimes men would use that to refer to their wives as a harpy. You'll see it in stories and stuff like that. Not meaning they fly around, but it means that their woman is ugly and yells and screeches at them a lot. And it's also where we get the word harping on somebody. So if like your parents yell at you to clean your room a lot, you can use the word harping. Did not come from beautiful musical instruments. It came from ugly thing that would yell and scream at you. So if your parents are not real up on their Greek mythology, next time they're yelling at you to clean your room, you can go, okay, harpy, I'll get right on that. And if they don't know their Greek mythology, they'll be like, yeah, that's right. You're like, giggle, giggle, and you get to go to your room. If they do know their Greek mythology, you're probably going to want to duck, because it's not going to go well. Hopkins?
I put like the creatures in the things
That's fine.
instead of other stuff.
I'm okay with that. I put mine in other stuff, but I can see them go either way. And then you're going to complain about how I pronounce this one, because I pronounce it the Greek way, and you're going to want to pronounce it the giggle 7th grader way. I'm okay with either. The Greeks pronounce it Uranus, so let's take a look at Uranus, not the way you're pronouncing it, which is
Uranus.
giggle, giggle, I'm aware. So with Uranus, does it go gods, places, things, other stuff? Uranus is 2, again, a god and a place. Father Sky is who Uranus was. So he was a god in the sky that you could talk to, and he was also a place. And so, like the actual location sky. And to make Uranus even better, Uranus was married to someone, which becomes the best junior high couple to ever exist. Because if you look on your family tree, you'll see Uranus listed on there, and you'll see who Uranus is married to. No.
Gaia.
Is married to Gaia. Except that's not how you guys are going to usually pronounce it. You're going to pronounce it as
Gaia.
So you're going to realize the fact that yes, according to Greek mythology, the original couple to exist was Gaia and Uranus. And that's just sort of how Greek mythology goes. I've just come to accept it over the years. I will be pronouncing it as Gaia and Uranus, but every time I say it in your head, you're just going to translate it, and we'll just come to terms with it. Tomato, Gaia. All right. So now, I've been teaching junior high a long time. Next up, Charon. Charon. Figure out where you put Charon. We'll go God, place, thing, other stuff. Charon is a god.
Isn't he like that horse from Percy Jackson?
No, that's slightly different.
Well, what was the guy's name from Percy Jackson?
Chiron. Chiron. Charon, or Charon, different Charon. In Greek mythology, he was the boatman that took you across river Styx. So in the underworld, to get from one side to the other, you give him gold coins, and then he would to go across. That's who he was. He was a Titan, and he lived down in the underworld, and he'll pop up in a couple of stories. Minotaur. Let's go with
that's I know that one.
God, place, thing, other stuff.
Thingy.
Wherever you put your other harpy, you're going to put
other stuff.
Minotaur.
Tarsus.
In Greek mythology, Minotaur was half man, half horse. So, bottom half man, so man, torso, legs, all of that, up to the shoulders, and then arms were man, and then head of a bull. So giant bull up there on top. Harpies was a whole race of creatures. Minotaur was just one. There was not a bunch of them running around. It was a cursed baby that Poseidon curses, which is a good story we're going to get to. And this baby grows up to eat humans because the person made Poseidon mad. And once again, don't get involved in god drama because they curse your baby and make it a half man, half bull thing. You'll have to wait so we can get through, I'm sorry. Centaur. Centaur is gods, places, things, other stuff.
Other stuff.
Same. A minotaur, half man, half bull. Centaur, half man, half horse. Bottom half horse, top half man. Again, if you've seen like Harry Potter and then the Percy Jackson, centaurs pop up in there.
Yeah, those are the cool
Centaurs were also a whole race of them. Not like Minotaur, there was one. Centaurs were like squirrels. You'd go into the forest, like, oh my god, look at all those squirrels. Oh my god, look at all those centaurs. And he's like, hoochie, 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 just like running through the woods, like chasing the squirrels as you do. And then 5 more, then I can take your questions. Tartarus. God, place, thing, other stuff. No, tartar sauce is what SpongeBob says when he cusses. Tartarus is a place.
Yes!
In the underworld, it was where Zeus tortured people. Both gods and humans. They were not the same. It was just a place in the underworld specifically for torturing. We're going to find out in Greek mythology, they do not have the Christian idea of hell. There was no like the burning and the poking and like the demons jumping around. Tartarus was not a burning place. It was just a place where Zeus personally punished individual people. Sort of like your parents grounding you, but coming up with a specific punishment that lasts for the rest of your life and then going on to the next child.
Like holding the sky.
Olympus.
Yes.
Different idea, but sure. So Olympus, God, place, thing, other stuff. It's a place.
Yeah.
And there's a name for the people who live on Olympus.
Olympians.
How many Olympians can there be?
12.
So there can only ever be 12, and Olympus was the opposite of Tartarus. Tartarus way down low, Olympus way up high. And so that was the place where only the Zeus and his squad could hang out, and he could only have 11 squad members.
Is that why it's called the Olympics?
Because it was to honor the gods up on Mount Olympus. And so that's why it was called the Olympics, because you were honoring the gods at that time. Epimetheus. Sorry, Epimetheus. God, place, thing, other stuff. Epimetheus, he is a god. We're going to find out. Epimetheus was the god of stupidity. He had 2 brothers, Prometheus and Atlas. Atlas was the god of strength. Prometheus was the god of intelligence. Epimetheus was the god of stupidity. Yes, they had a god of stupidity. Yes, the stories about him are fun. Yes, we're going to get to them. How could I teach the god of 7th grade, the god of stupidity, and not get into...
You call him the god of Epictetus.
Satyr! And figure out where you're going to put Satyr. Gods, places, things, other stuff. If you put Minotaur in there's a hole right there, perfect for it. Satyr. Satyr, half man, half
Goat.
half man, half goat. This one I do have a picture of, right over here. That guy right there. Pan from Percy Jackson. Grover was in there. If you saw the Narnia, Mr. Thomas, when you go through he was also the half man, half goat. And so the Hercules cartoon that he brought up, the one that trains Hercules, that guy, his name is Phil in there, but he's a satyr. In Greek mythology, that's not who actually trained him. But top half man, bottom half goat. And they were also not evil, but they protected the woods. Their whole job was to make sure that if you went in there and killed animals, they would come after you and kill you, because they had to keep the woods safe. One more, then I get to call on you. Atropos, God, place, thing, other stuff. Atropos is our final god.
I hate it.
Atropos had two sisters named Clotho and Lachesis. Not, last third period thought, Lachesis. That's a different person. Lachesis. And the three of them together were the three fates, and they're the ones who controlled how long people lived. Again, from the cartoon and stuff like that, the string and the cutting. And so, in the Percy Jackson movie, they drive a cab, and like they're blind, like they share an eyeball and they yell at each other. In the cartoon, they're like live in a cave and they share an eyeball with each other. In Greek mythology, the sharing of an eyeball, not so much. But there were the three sisters who were really old. One of them created a string, one measured a string, and then Atropos was the one who cut a string. And unlike the Hercules cartoon, the cutting the string did not kill you. It was just the opposite. Cutting the string made you become born. And so as soon as they cut the string, you'd come into the world. So it was a little bit different than the movie from there. Jillian, what's up, dear?
I thought the half man, half goat, I thought those things were called fawns.
That is another type of thing. That's usually the same category in that area. Satyrs are their official name. Fawns is just another nickname for them later on. Because a fawn is also a small deer. So, Tig.
I thought. So what kills you? And they cut the string. Like what makes them kill you?
How am I going to answer that?
We'll get to it.
Casper.
There's a minotaur. That's a half like.
Man, half bull.
Yeah, the one. That's in a TV show that I watched.
Probably.
It's
What?
like they had to do like time travel.
What show is it?
DC Legends.
Absolutely in that show. They use a lot of Greek mythology.
What show?
Grant.
DC Legends.
Which one?
The bird one?
Is Harpy?
Yeah. Wasn't there one in Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Like Hagrid, like the big dude?
Very possibly. I think that's a different thing than the Harpies. Just because the Harpies are a little bit tougher to put in there.
I think he named.
But there's every chance they probably have them at some point. Harry Potter used a ton of Greek mythology. A lot. As we get into it, you're going to figure out like a lot of the names in Greek mythology of the people came from Greek mythology. Toro!